1, 2. Good.
Always have good energy.
Hey, welcome to Talking Big Uglies. This is our first episode, man. I'm super excited. Uh Thanks to shout out to Tone Drone and Tone Drone Productions and Miss Denise for giving me this opportunity, man. I'm so thankful. And our first guest today is Coach Jonathan Jones, the offensive line coach for the Baltimore Polytechnic Engineers, man. And we're gonna talk some ball today. And we want to really get right into poaching kids. We want to talk about poaching kids and why we do it and how we do it and where we do it at. And along with Coach JJ, we got Coach Bryce. Coach Bryce is from Virginia, and we're gonna have them introduce themselves and give a little bit about where they from and how long they've been coaching and some of their coaching prowesses. And so we get right into Coach JJ and just give a little bit a synopsis of yourself, Coach JJ, and we'll get right into it after that.
A little bit about me. I'm Coach JJ, currently the offensive line coach at Baltimore Polytechnic Institute. I played for SED between '09 and 2013. Coached with him when I got out of college. So I've been coaching for a little bit of, what's it been, about 7 years? 7 years,
Yeah,
Ed? About
yeah.
7 years. Played for him, played for Roger Wren, one of the best coaches in the state of Maryland.
Coach Bryce.
Football coach at J.R. Tucker High School in Richmond, Virginia. Um, this is going to be my 21st year coming up of coaching. Um, I played at a school here locally, um, probably the rival of the school I'm coaching at now. Went to play at Robert Morris University in Pittsburgh. Um, Came back down, coached at a small private school where we won a whole bunch of state titles there. I was a head coach for a little bit there where we won a state title. Moved to be an offensive line coach at my alma mater, and then moved around a couple places. And this will be my fourth year as the head coach at J.R. Tucker. Offensive line is my specialty. I love those guys up front, and this year I'll be back to working a lot more with those guys on a daily basis. So I'm super excited for this season coming up.
Wow. Yeah, quick story. Me and Coach Bryce, we took a trip to uh, Cincinnati, Ohio, to the
Yeah.
Cool Clinic. We was invited by Coach Jim Mouse McNally. Shout out to Coach McNally, and we had a good time, man. We met Howard Mudd, the legend, and Kevin Mawai, and we learned some ball that weekend. That was what 2016, 15, maybe
There
something
was
like that.
2018. Yeah, it was great, man. It was that was a really great experience. Seti and I we've been working sport. We met at Sports International camps way back. Worked a whole
Yeah,
bunch of those camps together, and
yeah,
just kept in contact ever since, man. So it's been a great
yeah,
relationship, and I
yeah.
love bouncing things back and forth with each other. It's been great.
Yeah, yeah. We just we talk ball a lot, man. But I want to get into why do we think these guys poach kids from different programs? And I know here in Baltimore, man, it's really a mess, man. Like, you got guys they going in kids' inboxes and they get other kids going in kids' social media inboxes trying to poach them to come play for a team. Now I know we don't own kids. Like I don't I know that. But I've been coaching 36 years. I've never done that. Like I've never done that. I don't even know how do you do that? Right? So if I had a kid that wanted to come play for me, I would reach out to the coach. And I would tell the coach, I say, listen, so and so, he wants to come play for me. I talk to his family. The family is kind of excited about coming in my program. So I want to run that by you so you'll be aware of what's going on, and you might need to maybe talk to the parents in reference to why he wants to do so, because ultimately it's the parents' decision for the kid to make that move. Okay, they can't make the move without the parents' consent anyway. But why are we doing that? Why do is it we don't like to coach the kid in our program? Like let's talk about it, Coach Bryce. You can lead off. Why do you think that we are doing that?
Um, I don't know, Seti. Social media is such a big thing now. Um, it's about the likes, it's about the offers, it's about a lot of things, and a lot of guys do a very good job of hyping their programs and stuff online on social media, and being a part of that is something that kids want to be a part of. I was talking to some of my coaches today after our 7-on-7, just in general, like a lot of kids today. It's what we're seeing is a lot of guys would rather be on a team and sit on a really good football team than go somewhere and build and be a
Mm,
part of something and play all the time and then make that team better if you get a bunch of guys that go there. There's not a lot of loyalty anymore to the programs where you're at, and it's a lot of jumping ship. You see that a lot in college with the portal, and it just has a trickle down effect. Why coaches would want to do it? I mean, I don't know. I think everyone wants to be successful. Everybody wants to win. Um, you know, um, but just getting involved in that stuff sometimes can bite you in the tail. As um, you know, I don't know. There's been some things in Virginia, some high profile things that happened in Virginia and Northern Virginia that occurred. That's not everybody, and a lot of kids do it the right way or try to do it the right way. I know that anytime one of my kids leaves my program or he moves or something or shows up, I know a lot of times that coach will contact me to say, "Hey, this kid showed up at workouts today," and then I got to go chase that kid down. What's up? Why were you over there? Or just like, hey, if you're gonna make these moves, like if you're doing it the right way, I mean, I understand that. Like programs are certain programs are better, but winning wise, is that necessarily because guys are better coaches or whatever? I think it's a lot of times it's for the looks. You know, I mean, but I think it's just the social media thing of it, and you know, taking advantage of that.
Coach JJ, can you chime in and give us your thoughts on why do we do that? Um, why do we poach? Like what? I don't understand. Can you explain?
I think it go on a couple angles. Like one, I say one, the parents, the coaches, and then, like you said, sometimes the kids themselves just want the look. Like they'll want to go to they'll see it on social media, the school, the big program. They like, oh, I want to be there. They always winning. But it's like Coach said, like you should go somewhere where you getting developed. Like you should prioritize development over the wins because at the end, the development is what's going to take you to the next level. But then it's also like the parents might not like this coach, or they might have beef with that coach or whatever maybe, or also like, oh, the coaches just want to win. They just want to win now. Like that specific program, that job might be on the line. So like, I got to get kids immediately. So let me go in this kid inbox or something like that. But
And yeah, and let me get a caveat. Like some of these programs or some of these teams that have kids going to them, those coaches do a very good job of developing them. And a lot of times we have these schools that are leaving from, maybe they're not getting that development. So I understand that piece of it too. Um, I do think that there's a lot of coaches that coach at teams that um, you know that are not as successful in the wins and loss columns, that are extremely good coaches. And if they had those kids with them, they would do a I think they would have that perennial winner or contender type of team. So, But there are those teams that have the people that flock to there and they do that. Those guys, a lot of those guys still have the good development. So, you know, um, just want to put that out there too. That even though some of them might be leaving a program where technically they would be getting the same sort of thing, there are those kind of things that happen too.
But I do think it is
So
just like because of social media. I think social media
Yeah,
plays a big part of it because, like, even in my generation growing up, we had like Instagram and we had like Vine, but more so we just had YouTube. Like we put our highlights on YouTube and stuff like that growing up. But it was like when we was at a school, you kind of thugged it out until you had your shot. That's just how it was. Like wherever you was like, all right, I probably get a couple reps, but it's like until I get my shot, you kind of just sat at that school wherever you was.
mm, and yeah, and you took the words right out my mouth because my next thought was, what if the kid feels like he's not getting the playing time, or like
Yeah,
he don't want to really wait his turn. Like we giving these kids the opportunity to say, well, you ain't gotta stay and do that. I mean, you can go, but that even comes from the top. That's coming from college ball with the transfer portal, and these guys,
and
leaving schools.
another thing that
Hmm.
kind of plays into it is like they call it. When I was growing up, it's called being held back, but it's like reclassing. So
Yeah.
like they thinking, I think everybody's goal is to get like 3 to 4 years of varsity film. And growing up, it was kind of rare for somebody to get like 3 years of varsity film. You always had your two JV years and your two varsities. Now it's like they want four. So to get the full, they'll probably reclass as a freshman or eighth grader so they could play varsity as a freshman or as a sophomore. And
Wow.
I think some coaches that try to get them that way. It's like, hey man, you can play varsity right now as a sophomore. You come over here.
Mm.
yeah.
So
I mean,
so
at the end of
yeah.
the day, like you're saying too, like there's only one football, right? And some of the scores you see of these games now with these teams that are loaded, the scores are astronomical because what do they got to do? They got to get all their guys their touches, right? The
Mhm.
reason why I came here is to get my touches. So you're seeing scores of
Mm.
70, 80, whatever it is, because hey, this kid, you know, you got some of the best players here. You got to get them reps because that's what they came there for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm.
There's only one football, so it kind of it puts it sometimes in a place where hey, I know there's some. I think what Florida just opened their open division. I didn't really too much about it, but they have an open division now. I know Arizona has an open division where they have schools. If you want to play against, if these top notch programs, go into this open division and play there, and then you have your normal classes 1A, 2A, 3A, whatever it is, you play, and then you have this open division where it's basically like the super teams. They get to play each other for a state title. Um, I'm not sure that's how it's working in Florida, but I think that's how it's in is in Arizona. I think I heard a coach talking about that, but
I talk.
you
I
know,
heard. I heard Luke Skywalker from the group, and he's real big in Florida and Florida football. And I heard
mhm,
him say that and it was like new light for me. And I was like, dang. And he said that the transfer portal most of the time now is for colleges to cut these guys. And I never thought about
mhm,
that, right? And I was like, wow. And so that means after the ones and twos, we really treating the threes and fours like really greasy. Like we
mhm.
don't even talk
Kind
to
of
them.
telling them like, is it like, hey
We don't.
man, it's better for you to just move on. Like, put a recommendation in for you to hit the portal. Ain't gonna get no reps here.
Right, right. So I never thought about that. I was like, man, I thought the transfer guys was leaving, but they really trying to send some of these guys to the transfer portal. They trying to send them there. Like, yeah, like we don't really want you here nowhere. We want you to go in the transfer portal. It's like that's your way to cut the kids now. Like cut them,
Hmm.
send them in the portal. Hey, what you think, Coach Bryce?
That's interesting. I mean, you know, you have some of the coaches that are getting out of the business now because of that. Like Saban getting out because of that. He said he had his third string running back come up to him, whatever I think that story was, and asked him for a certain amount of money, or he was going to leave, and Saban was like, "Okay, like,
Okay.
bye." Like it's sad that it's gotten to that. I mean, it is a good way. I understand that. I can see how that happens. But you look at some of the stats. You see a lot of the kids that enter the portal. Not all of them find a home. And now
Mm,
you're out of football.
mm.
And it's sad that these guys. You know, there was such a. I really enjoyed those couple years or those years where some of these FCS schools or they were making a transition to FBS or whatever, and like the Coastal Carolinas and some of these teams, they were making it, and all of a sudden making it. It was a brand new group of schools that made college football fresh. You know what I mean? It was like, hey, look at these schools getting these kids, and now it's kind of shaking up who the number one school. Boise State. Coming into there and beating Oklahoma and the Fiesta Bowl, that kind of stuff. It was just you know, but then I don't know, all of a sudden they started doing this whole other transfer thing, and at the end of the day, the best teams are still the best teams again. Like you
But
still have your tough guys.
in terms of high school ball, right?
Mhm.
I mean, what is telling the kids that the grass is green on the other side, besides what the coach is saying to them? So who's to say that the grass is green on the other side? Like,
That's the
explain that
risk
to
that the
me.
kid. That's the risk that the kid and their parents is taking. But like you said, is they going off of just whatever the coach is saying. So if the coach come up to you and say, "Hey, you come over here. You gonna start as a sophomore. You gonna be a starter. I'm gonna get you this jersey number." Blase, blase, blase. You're going off of his word of mouth, so you believe in what he's saying. It's like, all right, I'm gonna take him on his word, regardless. I ain't seen nothing yet, but I'm gonna have faith that he deliver on that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, those things. Like I said, you look at social media, and what do we all say about social media in the first place? It's all only half of our life. We only put the majority of us only put the good stuff on social media, right? So we have our social media profiles, our things are this picture perfect life. You know what I mean? You're only seeing the best things of these programs, until you get in there sometimes and see, some other things that are going on or what the struggles or the weaknesses of
Right,
the school or the admin or whatever it is. But you don't see that because I'm not going to promote that on my social media page. You know what I mean?
right,
Like if I'm trying to put my school out as a good picture, I'm not going to do that. And so these kids see the best of this, and you know, when kids are getting offers, and hey, that's great. You know, the best thing I think for a program is to have one kid that ends up getting an offer from a big time Power Five school, Power Six, whatever, Power Four school, whatever it is, right? And all of a sudden, now you've got all those coaches in the building, and now they see the rest of the players, and now you have that pipeline in. You know what I mean? It only takes that one kid to get recruited for that's it's a stud to bring all the rest of the schools in. That's going to stay there for a while. You know what I mean? Like if you notice that, I just know that that's what happened a couple times for us. Is we have one kid that's got a high profile, and then everybody's in, and then they're in for the majority of the time after that just because of that one kid. And so that gets those other kids those offers. So you know, some of those kids they're chasing that. Hey, well, this college is going to go here, this college is going to go there, but this school. At the end of the day, I have the same colleges coming into my school that do the same school down the road over here and the same school down the road because they're traveling to every school around. You know what I mean? But like Oklahoma
Yeah.
or Michigan, they're not coming in to Virginia on a trip unless there's a dude that's a stud that they're going to try to take. You know what I mean? They're not walking in the building. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
Um, so it's when the Mekhi Becton guy who was played for the Jets, he was he was drafted by the Jets, but he played for a school down here, Highland Springs. He was a tremendous program, um, and you know John Harbaugh came to watch him play basketball. You know what I mean? Like that's a guy like that, you're going to get that guy in there, that's going to be some cred, and then you know what, those coaches are going to come back to that school because they're watching film of this kid and they're seeing other kids that can play, but you don't have those big time programs really walking into a lot of schools unless there's a stud there. But we have all the D2s, all the FBS schools are, like the lower non-power five, they're always in our schools and they go around to everybody, you know like that coach isn't going to not come to my school because it's on his route. They're trying
Mm,
to find all the best guys they can. The power
mm.
fours, they do their digging on everything. You know what I mean? So you know, if you say you're going to go get recruited, sometimes that's not necessarily always the miss. The thing. Hey, I'm gonna go to this school because they all their kids go get offers. That's not always the case. You know what I mean? You can get offers from anywhere, but you got to impress those coaches. At the end of the day, it's all about your film. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily about your kid, about your team. Yeah, success will bring it out on some guys, but at the same
Yep.
point, like if you're good and your tape is good, coaches are going to find you. You know what I mean? And they can tell when a kid's a good kid. You know what I mean? Hey, here's my film. My team isn't very good, but look at me. Wow, that kid is really, really talented on a team that's not very good. You know what I mean? So
Yep. So
there's those things that
here,
college coaches that get you know they can see that stuff, but they don't
we're
tell you that
gonna
on social
adjourn
media.
that part. Is
Yeah.
it's ridiculous, man. So we're gonna adjourn that piece, and then we're gonna jump right into the canary in the coal mine. So this is gonna get a little it's gonna get a little testy on this next segment, but we're gonna jump right into what we call the canary in the coal mine. So what we want to talk about today is deserving kids that make an all-star team, and how do we divvy that time as coaches to them deserving players that deserve to play on that team, because they was picked to play on the team. Um, so here's my story, right? My son wasn't picked initially to play in the Big 33 uh, All Star game. That his head coach is was the head coach of the Big 33 team, Maryland. So he wasn't initially picked, and I thought, just me personally, that and as an offensive line coach, I didn't really see a center there better than my son. And I'm probably biased, but I didn't really see a center there that was better than him. And they wound up picking him maybe freaking 3 weeks later after they done already had like 2 weeks of practice. They called and asked him to be a part of the team, I guess, because somebody had went down. So my son said yes, he would play, and uh, he goes to the game. I mean, goes to the practice on that Wednesday up in Hershey, PA, and the 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 coach, they was going to have, the game wasn't until Sunday, so they was going to have maybe 10 practices prior. So my son called me that Wednesday when he got there that Wednesday night. He said, "Dad, can we go over the blocking schemes?" Right? Because it was kind of basic, and the defense is basic in general, so it wasn't any blitzing or anything of that nature, and they had to play one basic coverage. So the blocking scheme was easier based on that alone. So we went and he talked about it, and he said the coaches are having a meeting now, and I'm going to meet with the offensive line coach, who is Howard Duncan from Spalding High School, right? I'm going to meet with him after the coaches get out of a meeting. So he said to me that he tried to meet with the coach, and the coach said he didn't want to meet with him. Well, I guess wasn't no need for him to meet. Anyway, long story short, my son playing the game, third quarter. He didn't play the first half. Third quarter, uh, he get in for one series. That series was over with. He go back to get in the game, right? The center that played in the first half went back into the game after that first series in the third quarter. Him and my son going in together. So I said, "Oh, something ain't right here." And my son told the boy, he said, "Look, man, get out." So the boy said, "Well, I'm not getting out because the coach told me to come in." So my son walks off the sideline. He says to the coach, Howard Duncan from Spalding, he says to him, "Coach, why are you pulling me out?" And he said, "Well, what did you say?" And he said, "Why are you pulling me out?" And he said, "Because I wanted to and because I said so." And my son says to him, "That's bullshit," right? So his reasoning for my son not playing the rest of the game was he was being disrespectful, right? And we had family up there, right? His mother was there. She spent a whole bunch of money to stay there that weekend to kind of be close to him. And I was heated. I've never been so heated in my life. And my son was hurt. And my question to Donald Davis, who's the head coach, who's his head coach at Mount St. Joe and who was the head coach for the Big 33, is why you asked him to be on the team if you wasn't going to play him, right? You should have just left him alone because he didn't make the team initially. So why you ask him to be on the team and they ain't playing? So how do we divvy out playing time? I'm gonna start with you, Coach JJ. How do we divvy out playing time in All-Star game when the kid is deserving to play?
Well, if it's an all-star game and every kid deserving, what's that? You should at least at minimum get what, 12 to 15 plays? Ain't that? I feel like that's fair,
Mm,
but I agree with you on the side of like, if you already told the kid no the first time, there's no point coming back and saying, hey, well, okay, let me not say that. Let me not say there's no point. If you come back after you done told me no and you say, hey, I need you to come on this all-star team, at least be like, okay, I need you to come on this all-star team, but your reps might be limited because we three practices in and you only gonna practice for like a week. So you might not get as many reps as everybody else. Like I say get a guy a choice. Give him the option to turn you down. But like don't if you just say, oh, I need you to come play for the game, I'm thinking I'm playing. So okay, I'm playing. That's
Coach Bryce.
Yeah, man. So I actually help out with the Big River Rivalry, which is the 804, which is Central Virginia's All Star game. I help with run that thing. We do a lot of good things there, raising money for charities around Central Virginia. We do North of the River, which is North of River schools, and versus South of River schools in Richmond, and we have about 40 some odd schools that compete, and we pick from every school. So there's about 22, 24 schools on the north side. There's about 21 schools on the south side, and we pick at least two players from each side of the river, from each team on each side of the river. So everyone plays, or so everyone has a representative, kind of like the baseball All Star game. And it's been really good for us for 14 years. The whole thing is about being transparent right away. We're going to, and we tell
Right,
our coaches that are coaching in
right.
there, look, here's how we want to do it. We're going to alternate series. We're going to get everybody in those first couple series, first part of the game, first half, right? Third quarter, we might see what things are going on, but when it comes down to fourth quarter, we want to win, and those are the guys that have been performing are going to be the ones that are in the game. So
right.
we're very transparent with that. Now, there have been some times where we've missed some kids. Our roster started out with 48. We've gone to 55 because we've had more schools that we've started to include in the game. Um, and so it's kind of made it a little bit tougher to maybe get everybody in, but we try to do a really big job with that. I know I coached in a couple years with the offensive line, and we still do it to this way. We have a couple, 1 to 2 offensive lines. We only really bring 8 linemen with us, or maybe five, or we bring about 8 to 10 linemen, offensive linemen that play in the All Star game, and so we have basically 2 units, and we just alternate those 2 lines. We only have 1 week of practice with it, so it might be a little less than the big 33, um, but yeah, so we do that, and then we'll alternate the offensive lines throughout the game, and then when it comes down to nut cutting time, hey, we're gonna the group that's been performing the best, or we might switch a couple guys in here or there, depending on how well they're playing. But those kids know that going in that they're gonna get reps, but like if you miss practice during the week, yeah, your time is gonna be limited because we haven't seen you perform. So that's a lot of it too. But we're very transparent and upfront at the start. And they know that when it's fourth quarter, the best guys, the guys have been playing and making plays are the ones that are be playing in the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So right, and that's a great segue to my next thought or my next question was, um, you never communicated that, and you never said to my son or for any kid for that matter, right? Why not just tell him like, okay, we're gonna use you as a spell guy. So you're a spell guy. You coming in to spell somebody. You might not play. Why isn't that communicated, right? So the kid can have the choice to say, well, I don't want to play. If I'm gonna be a spell guy, then I don't want to play, right? Straight fact.
Yeah,
If you just using me as a spell guy, I don't want to play. I don't because I'm not a spell guy, right? I'm a
yeah,
dog. I can play. So don't use me to spell nobody. So if it's not communicated, why are we doing that? Explain that to me. Like, why are we doing that if it's not communicated? That is trash. And it's so disrespectful to the families. And don't tell me, right, because of the pageantry of the game and the prestige of the game, right? You just freaking happy to just be there, right? Because your kid might not want to be there. Or you might not want to spend money, sit around and watch your kid play 1 or 2 snaps after stayed in the hotel and you had to buy food and you might not want to be there spending that type of money for your kid to be a spell guy, right? So I think it's disrespectful. I just think it's disrespectful, and I've never experienced anything in my life like that.
I feel like, man, no kid wants to go into an all-star game as a kid that's not getting no reps. This is your, as you look at the all-star game, it's like, well, you look at any game, it's like, I'm here to play, I'm here to win, I'm here to play. Like, you're not here, you don't want to be a bench rider. Being a bench rider at an all-star game is crazy to me. Like, that's like you say, you just don't need that kid. And if that's the case, you need to condense the roster, bring the roster down. If you not gonna play, if some kids not getting no playing time, it sounds like you don't need that many kids to make the team.
Right, right. Because I've read somewhere where they said, you know, why you going kind of push 60 kids to be the best they can be throughout the week, right? But you only playing 20. So
And I get the whole idea of like you want reserves, but it's like you don't need that many reserves.
because guess what? They could have played with the guys who they just said they was going to play with, and then not have the other guys just sitting around as spell guys. Like you should have just went with the guys you had. It
And
don't
it's
make
also
sense
like
to
you
me.
said, it's also like you said, not really fair to like their families because like that game ain't at a local school, so it's like that's a little drive. Like you say, spending money. So it's like they people are coming out here to see their kids at the end of the day. They coming out here to see their kids play at the end of the day.
Coach Bryce?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think what we try to do is, hey, you're seeing that kid play in the first half. You know, whether it's alternating or whatever, you're seeing them play a lot of special teams too. You're seeing them play in the first half, um, and then we keep rotating and stuff through the third. And then what happens is, if it's a close game, then you know what's going to happen in the fourth. Like,
Yep.
you know, it's
That's
just
it.
anything. You're going to feed the hot hand. You know, you're going to feed the hot
Yep.
hand. Whoever's good. Like, we've had a lot of quarterbacks that have played in this game, and what ends up happening is, by the fourth quarter, like, a lot of times the quarterbacks, they kind of know who's going. You know what I mean? Like, they kind of know who's going in next series or whatever when the game's on the line because of what they have. You know what I mean? How they played throughout the game. The quarterback position is probably it's the position we have the least kind of like complaints about when it comes to that. But yeah, I think finding a way to get as many kids in at the beginning of the game is the most important part, because you know, if you have a kid that's not like up to the caliber, even though he's on the All Star team, maybe he's not up to the caliber of some of these other dudes that are in front of him. But hey,
Right.
give that kid the shine that he needs at the beginning, and maybe he surprises you, you know. But at least he's gotten that time in there, instead of like, hey, oh, third quarter, you know, now we're down by 10, you know, we got to come back. You know what? That kid probably ain't going to get the time because, you know, maybe that D
Now
lineman,
it's
and I'm
crunch time.
talking offensive line here, maybe they're pinning their ears back now. You know what I mean? All of a sudden now it's like, well, crap, I need that really good kid in. You know, I can't put the kid that's a little struggles a little bit in there. But at the beginning of the game, maybe the defense is playing a little more conservative, you know, and so he gets the ability to get more reps and be able to be a part of it, instead of, you know, third quarter and here we go, like, oh, you're down, you got to pass now, let's get up in the wide nines and let's roll. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, man. I was, oh man, I was dejected.
Yeah,
Oh
man.
man, it was pretty bad. But I don't know, guys, man. Maybe, and this is the first show of Talking Big Uglies, man. I appreciate you guys for coming on, man. And we got history, and I just want to publicly
Yeah,
say how much I really appreciate you guys, how much I love you guys, man. And
yeah, man, love you too, son.
uh, so I don't know, man. I think next show, we'll talk some line play. But it was some stuff
Yeah,
that I
man.
just wanted to kind of get off my chest, man. And next
Man, I
time,
feel for you,
Coach
brother.
Bryce, we can talk power and track and talk some real football stuff and even draw some stuff up because I got some stuff that that I kind of want to pick your brain about. And
Yeah, man, you always got the crazy stuff said, or you got the good
yeah,
stuff.
man,
You always drawing, always showing me stuff, and I'm like, oh
yeah.
man, I don't
He was ahead,
know.
ahead drawing
So
Yeah,
today.
so right now we in Wake Forest University. They
yeah,
forcing the national. And I was telling them, I said, man, it's my 27th year. I want to retire after this year.
yeah,
And kind of brought Coach JJ with me because if this my last year, at least brought somebody on that kind of loves the position. And I told him when Coach Wren told me, if you coach in the offensive line, right, you will always have a job, you
yeah,
know.
man.
Yeah, because, they beating down doors to find an offensive line coach. And then that's the first coach that they're looking for. If he's a great head coach, the first coach he's looking for is the O-line guy.
Yep,
So, but on that, man, I'm gonna end it. I appreciate you guys, man, and thank you. I really appreciate you, for coming on, man. My first show, and I want to thank Coach Tone and Tone Drone Productions, Mr. Nice, and for giving me this opportunity and this platform to kind of speak my mind just a little bit and talk some football and O line play. But we'll definitely get back into the O line play come next week, and I appreciate it. So signing out
yeah, man.
for the first is Talking Big Up. Appreciate y'all. See y'all again next week.
All right, man.